The Los Angeles Rams are champions for the first time in this franchise rebuild and the third time in franchise history. A 33-14 victory over Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. A dominant defensive performance. We picked him off 4 times. Had the forced fumble that was recovered by us as well. McKinney had 2 picks off of Mahomes and he wins the MVP in the Super Bowl for just, I think, the second time among safeties ever. But it was a dominant playoff run and we blew out all the teams that we faced. We were the 1 seed. We played like it the entire way through. This is one of the most dominant playoff runs you'll ever see. And we probably had one of the best defenses you'll ever see as well. We were first overall the entire season in terms of points per game and yards. And we also led the entire league in sacks and broke the sack record with 79, which is 7 more than, or 5 or so more, somewhere around there than the 84 Bears had, which they had the record initially. But don't forget, we also lost Aaron Donald to retirement. He heads to the sunset. We lose the entire left side of our offensive line and Joe Mixon as well. Aaron Donald ends up being the highest legacy scorer person in football, above coaches and all players alike. Now, Mahomes will probably pass him before he retires, but as of right now, Aaron Donald is the highest with 41,000. He obviously is an award winner, won plenty of awards, and is coming off. He pretty much ended his year in the best 3-year stretch of his entire career. Look at these numbers, man. 20.5, 23, and then 26.5 sacks with monster tackle for loss numbers. And we also lost our offensive coordinator, who now is the head coach over in Washington, taking on the Commanders. Will Hudson's gone, so we lost a lot of key contributors to this championship run. And we're going to lose a few more people to the open market as well. Ernest Jones, Dotson, Bolton, Sam Williams, DeForest Buckner, Blair Herbert, Quentin Lake, who's been on this team throughout the entire 5 years of this franchise so far. So a lot of guys are leaving, but our first order of business is to hire a new OC, and that's going to be Nick Gregory, who matches our offensive scheme. He's got a couple of offensive line guru traits, so he is hired as our new Will Hudson replacement. But going into the open market, going into free agency, here is what this team looks like. The offensive line is definitely way different, especially on the right side with Fitzsimmons and Griffin now in, with Wills moving over to left tackle. Cooper Kupp is in our lineup right now, and Trevor Offord's coming into his own. The defense, we still have a lot of good players on this defense. Really not too many holes to worry about over here. Really thinking about just depth among the defensive line, potentially bringing back Ernest Jones, and for the offense, running back, right guard, and right tackle are what I'm really thinking about. But this free agent class was really not the best. The top 2 players were a punter and a kicker, and then it goes right into a lot of aging veterans. Traylon Burks pretty much the only player here above like an 80 overall that was not 30 plus years old. And I didn't think that we had to go for him, so I did not really target anybody besides the people that I said I was going to target, which was offensive linemen, defensive line depth, and potentially running back if there were options. But really, there weren't a whole lot of running back options, and this just wasn't the best free agent class, despite us having a pretty good amount of cap room. So really, my first ideas were running backs, and so I went through these options just to see who was here. Now that we have lost Joe Mixon, and Deontay Rich was the first guy to look at here, but he's coming off a year where he only had 3.6 per carry and has had no real significant carries in his first 4 seasons. Then DeMar Perkins, kind of a similar story. His best year was his rookie year, and since then his production has dropped off. And then you had Timothy Felder here, another 80 overall or so running back, but he's coming off another poor season. So I thought, well, if there's nobody here, who is going to be available in the draft? So I went through and I tagged 5 different running back prospects, 3 of which are supposed to go in rounds 1 and 2. And this first guy, Jerry Whitmore, I mean, all these guys were really well-rounded running backs. They could really do a lot in different areas, and Whitmore is one of them with B spin move and B trucking. some good route running out of the backfield. So he was somebody that could really do it all. Reggie Thierry was somebody who was really more agile than most other guys, but did have some power to his game with stiff arm and trucking both at B or higher. So I thought he was another solid player to go after. I thought that if we're going to have a late first round pick, this is the time to go after a first round running back, if anything. So John Bibbs here was probably my favorite here, with just a good overall athletic profile and decent spin moves, stiff arm, trucking, pass blocking, great ball carrier vision. Matthew Williams is a power back who actually has one of the fastest combines in the entire combine, or the entire draft, really. So if you don't go first round running back, Williams is probably the top option there. Now, if you wait until day 3, Perry Kaysen steps in as somebody who can, like the other guys, can really give you some power and some elusiveness. So there are plenty of options here at running back. So I felt like I didn't have to really target that here in the open market. And so instead, I went after Ryan Ramczyk, Greg Teal. I wanted to bring Ernest Jones back. And then I went after defensive line depth and Lance Royals and Jaden Huffman. So 5 targets here in the first stage, and we got all 5 players. So Ramczyk will slot in at right tackle. We're going to move Willis to left tackle. And Teal is going to be the left guard. We're going to move Steve Avila to right guard, where he played most of last season. Ernest Jones comes back as another starter in his next year with us. And then some solid defensive depth along the defensive line. So that's what I was looking for. And we end up with about $22 million in cap room, 58 guys on the roster. So I felt like, what moves would there have to be going forward? No! Cooper Kupp just randomly retired. I did not expect this at all. No! Offered becomes the number 1. Cooper Kupp has retired. Oh man. This is a new era after all. This is such a key loss. Why'd you wait, man? Why'd you wait? This was another crucial loss for the offense. You lose your starting running back, you lose your number 1 receiver, you lose the left side of your offensive line, and now you lose Cooper Kupp, who I guess is that number 1 receiver, but he bows out with around 16,000 legacy score, one of the top players of all time, and finished his career extremely strong, just like Aaron Donald did. Really bittersweet moments for both players. They both end their careers in a very strong fashion, pretty much going out on top with the ring. But that leaves it with $44 million in cap room now. And so I thought I kind of have to sign a third receiver now, because I'm not sure that Randolph is really going to be solidified as a number 3. We're at like a 71 overall. So I went after Dobbs here. He's coming off the best year in his last 3 years, but pretty poor production overall. But I think because he's just been playing behind a lot of players, and he really wanted a very cheap contract. I feel like a cap hit below $4 million is perfectly fine. And then you can also open up more options if you want to go receiver in the draft as well, if there is one of those younger options. And I saw one in Morgan Stoudemire, so I did end up using one of our focus scouting decisions on him, as well as John Bibbs and right end Braylon Robinson. But these were all the major free agent acquisitions for the league. I would say that the Bills probably had the most signings here, with like 5 or 6 or so. They brought in Devontae Carey from San Francisco. They also brought in Tyler Algier and Jordan Brooks. So a couple of big signings for Buffalo. But man, the offense is going to look a lot different here in this next season, man. It really is a new era here in Los Angeles with the loss of Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald. We go into the mock draft 5 here, and I noticed that there are no running backs going in this first round. Now, the Falcons are apparently going to be selecting Stoudemire at 22. I don't really feel like trading up for him, so if we can just wait at 32 for a running back, I feel like that could be a really solid option for us to go with and just have the immediate replacement for him. But looking at Stoudemire, I just want to go through the guys that we use the focus scouting on. And he is a really solid overall athlete. Nothing to really be crazy about there, but his skill set has a lot to like. You know, he can break tackles, he's got good vision, so presumably some good run after the catch, spin move, stiff arm, good release. Route running is actually pretty solid initially, so I thought he was a really good option, and definitely a guy that I'm looking towards in the first round if he falls to us somehow. Then about John Bibbs, I wanted to use the scouting on him to see what his talent was. And he is a for sure round 1 talent, which means that these other running backs probably are too. And he is a fast running back, not the fastest or anything, but he's got good stiff arm, trucking, pass block. Not actually too elusive, really, so that was kind of surprising. And then for Braylon Robinson here, this guy is a very strong guy that lacks speed, but very, very well-rounded pass rusher here. And that takes us right into the NFL draft, everybody. And the Seahawks have the first overall pick. They are on the clock, and they are going to select with their first pick Julius Allen, who was supposed to go first overall. The Saints end up going with the right tackle, Brennan Schaefer. Rutherford goes to the Chargers. The Colts take Bradley Cates. And the Raiders go quarterback. And then goes Dante Royal as that top receiver who is going to be a pretty special player. The Titans have a new quarterback over there in Tennessee, so they're looking to kind of start their rebuild kind of fresh. Got a new linebacker with the Ogletree moniker over in San Fran. We'll see about him and if he can give them a good impact against us in this offense. But a lot of offensive line and defensive players here going in the top 10. Defensive linemen, especially, and pass rushers like William Cullen here out of UVA. Another linebacker to Denver out of Michigan State. But I was still thinking about, you could probably wait on the running backs if they don't go in the first round. Maybe, just maybe, you can wait on them for your third round pick and trade up with that to the second round to see if you can just get the last option maybe out of those top 3 or 4 picks in terms of running backs, because then you could draft a better player at a different position with your first round pick instead. Not really sure how much running back is going to be affecting us, because even if you can't get a running back that's gonna be like a 75 or higher immediately, you do have Jose Dubose, who's like an 80 overall, so maybe Dubose could be that starting guy. Who knows? I don't really know, but as we approach the end of the first round here, the Jaguars are on the clock. They select a defensive tackle, Martin Ellis, who I thought was a pretty good player. The Buccaneers take a receiver, so adding to their receiving core there, as we took them down in the playoffs, obviously. And the Chiefs take Keenan Harris here at pick 31. So we're on the clock, and Morgan Sotomayor is still there. The Falcons did not take him, and the running backs are all there too. And this was a really tough choice for me because you have a lot of running back options, but you also have the receiver there. So if you go receiver, I felt good about him. I really felt like his skill set was miles above the rest of them. And I ended up choosing Morgan Sotomayor, despite no real depth trait there besides normal. 92 speed, he's 5'10". I feel like he could really fill in a guy that could play in the slot like Cooper Kupp did. So the goal here was to pretty much get that slot-esque receiver, and despite the short route being a D, I still feel like he can be a good slot receiver for us. So now I wanted to go pick by pick and see when these running backs would go, because I still wanted to get one of these top running backs and make them a starter. But Whitmore goes second overall to the Saints here in the second round. The Chargers take a corner, Zach Holcomb. And then Indy next up, they take John Bibbs. And to me, this made no sense because they still have Jonathan Taylor, who is still a 90+ overall, still has X Factor. So Thierry is still left here. He was the third option of these top 3. And I really wanted this guy, so I tried to put a couple of deals together with Las Vegas to move up. But they literally just weren't budging. They wanted way too much I was offering players that they wanted, but they just weren't budging, and then they selected Reggie Thierry right afterwards, even though they have Josh Jacobs. Same story as Jonathan Taylor. I don't know what was going on there, but that really pissed me off. So we missed out on all the running backs that we wanted. And then in the third round, I trade up with our 4th and 5th round picks this year and our 5th round next year to get into the top 10 of this third round. So it's a 22 pick jump because Zach Callis just went, leaving Matthew Williams on the board at the very top. And I wanted him. Did not want to miss it on these running backs. And so we selected Williams, and he is a hidden dev running back. So that is at least kind of a savior of a pick here, him being a hidden dev player. So I like his skill set. I think that his ball carrier vision matched with his stiff arming and his really quick speed is a good skill set to have. And he was the fastest back out of all the guys that we looked over. So I still feel like that was a solid pick. Here in the 6th round, we end up going with a quarterback, and he's also hidden dev, Michael Moreland. 91 throw power. He had the best accuracies of the guys available, so I wanted to go for him. And then our 7th round pick, I was looking at depth, and we had only one safety on the roster in terms of strong safety, so I wanted to go for Vanta's backup, and so we select Christian Bernard. In the end, it was actually a fairly successful draft, I think, especially with our top 2 picks. I think we really did hit with Stoudemire here, who was a 76 overall, it ends up being. So he's not only a scheme fit, but a 76 off rip, right around where Romeo Doubs is. So I'm going to put Stoudemire here on the depth chart over Doubs because he's a rookie. We saw what Offer did. He had some huge plays in his rookie year, so I felt like play this guy in the slot his rookie year and watch him work. He's got great agility, great spec catch too. So a lot to like about him with the speed there as well. Then we had Matthew Williams, and he was a 71, power and elusive. So he is exactly what I was looking for, a guy that can do everything in terms of the running. So he'll wear number 21, but 91 speed, just really well-rounded ratings across the board. The lowest one here in terms of the core attributes is 76 with the spin move. If that is your lowest one, you were a good running back. Now, he can't really do anything out of the backfield in terms of being a third down back, but I thought he was a really solid pick for us despite missing out on the top 3 backs in the draft. Then quarterback Michael Moreland here. Pretty poor deep accuracy and break sack under pressure and awareness are all very, very low. So is play action, but he's got good short accuracy, so definitely a project quarterback to work on over the next couple of seasons as we do lose out on Chad Bolton. Then we took Bernard here, and I wasn't too impressed with his skill set. We'll see about him. Gonna see if he makes the roster. He probably will, given the lack of depth right now at that position, but we'll see about him. In terms of standouts, Royals here was the top overall player at 81 overall. He was hidden dev and is phenomenal. The Lions took the best quarterback late in the first round. Quinston Gales here, 77 overall, really good throw on the run and break sacks, so he's going to be a guy that can really work outside the pocket. And of course, the running backs that went here in the second round were all really, really good. Whitmore here was a 75 hidden dev. They were all hidden dev, and they all had really good skill sets. So it was hard to miss on the top 4 running backs that we had on our draft board because they were all 71 or higher with hidden developments. It just depends on what that dev trait ends up being. If we have a higher dev trait than these guys do, then you probably hit on your pick even after probably a slow upcoming rookie season, I'm going to imagine, for Matthew Williams. But John Bibbs here, I really wish I could have gotten him because he is in a better starting place than Williams is with a very similar skill set. And then Thierry here is also a really high overall at 74, hidden dev, but is really more elusive and does not have a whole lot of power to him. He's got some trucking and stiff arm, but overall the power is not really there. And it made sense for the Saints to draft Whitmore, but the Colts and Raiders still had Taylor and Jacobs respectively, so I still don't like those picks by them, but they also took a quarterback here, Ryan Dillon, who can't really do much against the pressure. Tennessee took a quarterback as well here in the top 10. And this guy can throw under pressure. Really good player here in the pocket and with the pocket collapsing. So fun pick by them. And the top pick outside of the top 3 rounds was another running back, Isaiah Blake, 74 overall hidden dev by Minnesota. So we missed on the top 4 in that regard. Entering preseason, though, here is what I have drafted up as your lineup. We're going to have Offord as the number 1, obviously, with Donald as the 2. We're going to have the rookie receiver Sotomayor as the slot receiver / the third receiver with Dobbs at the 4. Williams will start as the main running back because of the hidden dev, with Dubose and Josh Davis behind him. Obviously, Craig is your quarterback, backed up by Alex Payton and Moreland. The offensive line, we're going to have Wills, Greg Teal, McCoy, Avila, and Ramchick, with Reinhardt and Parson as your number 1 and 2 tight ends. So that's your offense going into week 1 of the preseason. On the defense, we're going to have McKinney and Vance return as the safeties, with Burns and Bernard backing up those two. In terms of linebackers, we're going to keep Baz Knight at outside linebacker for now, but I could see myself switching him in Styles at right end. We'll see about that. But we're going to have Ernest Jones return alongside Kenneth Murray. Tyree Wilson, same story. Same secondary as last year, essentially, with our top 4 being the exact same. And on the defensive line, very, very different. Joe Styles will start at right end. Warren Taylor returns as the defensive tackle. And Reddick is now the left end, but definitely lost a lot of the juice that he had last season. So we'll see about this. We've got some solid depth, I think, along the defensive line especially. We're going to have Townsend and Koo return as the punter and kicker, respectively. And we're going to have Sotomayor return the kicks and punts for now. But Offord can definitely do that too. Pass rush is going to be the same minus Aaron Donald from last year. But that's your lineup. That's your offseason. No real major moves, but a couple of major losses. And we brought in some young players to fill in the gaps that our veterans leave behind. But year 6 coming your way soon. I'll see you guys there. Like, subscribe, check out my second channel, comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the start of year 6, our championship defending season.